Hello everyone, and welcome back to Thrive Nuggets. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss any of our travel-related content. Let's get started. Our very sense of well-being is at gunpoint when we cling to the fickle, unreliable outside world. Around 2,000 years ago, Stoic philosopher Epictetus observed that people are burdened and dragged down because they tend to care about too many things. His cure, however, is not to stop caring altogether, but to care about the right things and stop clinging to anything that doesn't matter. What matters and doesn't matter, according to Epictetus, is bound to the reality of our place as reasonable beings in an ever-changing environment. This reality, Epictetus makes clear in the underlying tenet of his work, the dichotomy of control. Some things are in our control, others are not. If we manage to concern ourselves with the things in our control, we are in a position of strength. But if we neglect these things and focus on what's not in our control, we are in a position of weakness. Especially when we cling to what's not up to us, we set ourselves up for a life of suffering. The two main sources of Epictetus's philosophy are called Discourses and Enchiridion, which contain his words of wisdom, written down by his pupil Arrian. These ancient texts can teach us many things about achieving a state of contentment and inner peace, but also about fortifying our minds against outside circumstances that we would usually experience as hurtful. In the first chapter of Discourses, Epictetus makes clear that outside circumstances can only hurt us if we let them, which is, if we cling to them. Stop clinging to objects, people, and power. It seems part of human nature not only to become attached to the people we associate with, but also to objects. We repeatedly mistake attachment, which has certain possessive elements to it, for love. And so we deeply enjoy the presence of someone we're fond of, but are in agony when they walk out of our lives. And what's even more tragic is that we often suffer the loss of someone before this loss even takes place, which happens in our imagination. Clinging to someone or something implies the continual hurt that comes with resisting a possible yet ultimately inevitable separation from what we're attached to. In some cases, the fear of loss or abandonment becomes an obsession, meaning that our very lives revolve around preventing separation. The same goes for power. The ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus pointed out that power is insatiable, which is the reason why obtaining power usually leads to a hunger for more power. People corrupted by power have been the cause of misery countless times because they didn't want to give it up and wanted more, which only causes stress. But the irony of power is that even though it suggests control, power in itself is not in our control, meaning that it can be given and taken at any time. Fighting the impermanent nature of existence is the way of the fool. If we want to live in accordance with nature, as Stoics do, then we must adjust ourselves to transience. But how? Epictetus had a simple but profound piece of advice on how to treat the world when it comes to objects, people, and power. He suggested that we treat life as a dinner party. Is anything brought around to you? Epictetus stated, put out your hand and take your share with moderation. Does it pass by you? Don't stop it. Is it not yet come? Don't stretch your desire towards it, but wait till it reaches you. Do this with regard to children, to a wife, to public posts, to riches, and you will eventually be a worthy partner of the feasts of the gods. End quote. He then goes on to say that when we can even reject these things which are set before us, we'll not only be a partner at the feasts of the gods, but also of their empire. This points to living conformably to nature or simply by how things are, instead of in conflict with it. Now, Epictetus wants to toughen us up against the pain of loss by changing our perceptions of the things we love. Instead of thinking that we own something, or that we're entitled to something, or to be with someone, we could see everything we have as borrowed. I quote, "Never say of anything, I have lost it, but I have returned it. Is your child dead? It is returned. Is your wife dead? She is returned. Is your estate taken away? Well, and it is not that likewise returned. But he who took it away is a bad man. What difference is it to you who the giver assigns to take it back? Well, he gives it to you to possess. Take care of it, but don't view it as your own, just as travelers view a hotel." End quote. When we think of it, Epictetus's view of things isn't far from the truth. We don't own anything except our reasoning faculty. Because if we would own our children, our spouses, our estates, then we wouldn't be able to lose them. Thus, the idea that we borrow fits reality better, as there's always a moment of returning what isn't ours. Clinging to borrowed goods is a setup for inevitable loss and suffering. If we can enjoy things while they last, but at the same time remain aware that these things aren't ours to keep, we liberate ourselves from much hurt and anguish. Stop clinging to your body. Our health and physique are usually of great concern, which isn't strange, as a strong and healthy body allows us to be more productive, travel more easily, and increases our chances of survival. However, even though we can take care of our bodies, we have limited control over what happens to them. In this fragile, ever-changing, and ephemeral world, the possibility of losing our health and our very lives is never zero. No one knows when an accident or illness will befall them. Not accepting the transience of our own bodies creates tension and anxiety. Accepting, however, that our body is not us, but something that we borrow, takes away that stress. Epictetus stated, and I quote, "I must die. Must I then die lamenting? I must be put in chains. Must I then also lament? I must go into exile. Does anyone keep me from going with a smile, cheerful and serene? Tell me the secret which you possess. I will not tell, for this is in my power, but I will put you in chains." Man, what are you talking about? Me in chains? You may fetter my leg, but my will not even Zeus can overpower. End quote. Epictetus realized that only in the acceptance of the inherent perishability of our bodies can we be at peace with them. The ability to remain cheerful and serene despite our bodily states is something that we can cultivate through practice. Epictetus was a crippled slave, but even that couldn't prevent him from attaining wisdom and serenity. He didn't care about his body and health, as he didn't view it as his own. Many Stoics, including Epictetus, viewed life as a duty given to us by nature, as an opportunity to do good and to live virtuously, but nothing more than a temporary condition. Our own body is given to us by nature and borrowed by our mortal selves, and it's not something we take with us when we die. As death is the fate of all mortals, clinging to life, the futile task of trying to avoid the inevitable can only lead to misery. Stop clinging to your reputation. Epictetus explained that we have a very limited influence on how people think of us. What other people think of us lies mostly in their domain, and therefore it's not up to us. Even though we have the ability to sway opinions like crafting our own story and embellishing our social media pages with what we want to portray, the perception of the people around us is beyond our control. At first sight, this idea seems threatening. We generally want people to like us and be well regarded in our community. After all, we are social beings that thrive on cooperation with others, and being disliked can mean trouble for us. The desire to be liked and respected is a very natural phenomenon, but it can become an unhealthy obsession when we cling to our reputation and let our actions depend on it. When we act to please others, we are at their mercy. Thus, we give away our own power and freedom to control our own actions, based on the clinging to our reputation. Epictetus viewed human beings as players in a theater, given different roles to play by the director, which is nature itself. Some are assigned the roles of rich people, others are poor. Some have the role of good health, others are crippled. We have no control over the roles we're given, nor how the audience perceives us. But what is within our control is how we play our roles. Epictetus encouraged us to focus on playing our parts well, regardless of what others think. Just like in theater, how we play our roles in life should depend on our character and values, not on the praise or blame of the audience. In conclusion, Epictetus's teachings offer us a powerful approach to achieving inner peace by letting go of our attachments to things we don't control, like objects, people, power, our bodies, and our reputations. By focusing on what is in our control, our actions, and our reasoning, we can lead a more serene and fulfilling life, free from the suffering caused by clinging to impermanent and uncontrollable aspects of existence. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more content.